Hi, I'm Richie Mackay.
And I'm Davey Bolt, and you are listening to the Wrong Bias podcast.
And on today's show, we've got a couple of guests. This is our 13th show, so hopefully it'll not be too unlucky. But we've got Stuart Airey from Cumbria, who is coming on to talk about his distinguished career and some of the great times that he's had whilst he's played the sport. We've also got a little bit of a Brucey bonus on this show as well. George Babalev on from the Bowls Development Alliance. Now, due to the time constraints of the podcast, we're going to do this as a bit of a separate information piece. But this is going to be relevant for all clubs who need help or assistance or are worried about any of the issues surrounding the coronavirus and what effects it may have on the club. So some great information on there with regards to funding, help, what you can do, etc. Also on the show, we have got our usual competition sponsored by Alex Marshall Sports. And just in case anybody had thought that Richie had been furloughed, he's also going to be providing a little bit of a roundup. Obviously there isn't going to be a great deal, but he has got some information to bring you.
Right, mate, so here we are again, number 13, and it is, in the wedding anniversary terms, it's our lace, mate. Seems a bit...
champion. That's a bit of a coincidence, because I've got lace underpants on today.
Too much information, mate. I thought we were going to say a lace thong or something like that. So how are you coping with this lockdown, mate?
Me personally, I'm all right. I'm adhering to guidelines. The only journeys I've made are essential shopping, or I've had to drop some shopping over for me parents. But apart from that, we're still cracking on with work, and I've had a couple of hospital trips as well, which has taken up a bit of time as well.
And our kidney stone problems being sorted.
Well, it's the kidney stones out. That all went to plan.
Yeah.
And then, without going into too much information, there was a stent put in place which had a string attached which came out of a certain place.
Right.
And all I'll say is, if you imagine going to the toilet and looking at a party popper, that's pretty much where I was.
All I'll say is, you probably can you remember them little wooden toys where you pull the string and the arms and legs jumped in?
Yeah,
right.
very little toys.
The star jump.
Yeah, it was quite uncomfortable. So I had a tough week with that one, because it causes a few problems. I ended up in A&E on the following weekend, but thankfully it's out now and things are starting to get back to normal.
Well,
so all good with that one.
Very good. Watch what you're doing. Bowls England have now released some Keep Fit videos. Have you had a little look at it, mate?
I had a bit look at it the other day. I was intrigued to have a look, because I just wanted to see what was on there. Great idea, much needed. I've been very proactive, and I think it's something that's sadly missed in our sport is the fitness and activity side of things, especially at the higher level.
Yeah.
But certainly in this current situation, everybody does need to try and keep as active as possible. I mean, one thing that always springs to mind is when we have our Christmas break, and even if you just have like 10 days where the centre's closed, you go back in.
Oh,
and honestly,
you're stiff as aren't you?
Oh, it's horrendous for the first couple of games. So we can imagine what it's going to be like after 2 or 3, 4 months.
But you actually did have a little idea like this with the girl that used to be on The Apprentice.
I did, yeah, with Katie Gold-McCoo. We came up with Bowl Fit, which was a fantastic programme. We rolled it out, and I did a couple of classes at our local gyms, and it was really, really good. I sort of focused on a lot of age ranges, and people walked out, really enjoyed it. Basically, it applied to everybody. You could do it as hard or as light as you wanted to do and get as much out of it as what you could. But by God, when you walked out of there, you just don't realise what muscle you actually use in our sport. And it's only when you do go back after not having played for a while that you realise, crikey, my legs is killing. My back's killing.
That's right.
By your hamstrings, it's amazing. So it's a great idea, great thing that Bowls England are promoting. And I'm just waiting for you to post a picture on Facebook with your leotard on, mate, because I'm sure you'll have been doing it.
Well, yes. I've seen the fella, what do you call the fella who does the Keep Fit on the telly? He was on the other night.
Joel Wicks or something, is it?
No, the one that used to be on GMTV. Mr. Motivator.
Oh, Mr. Motivator,
just imagine me being Mr. Motivator, couldn't you?
I'm imagining you being more like Wincy Willis, to be honest.
I think you're probably right, mate. I mean, my Keep Fit routine at the minute is stick me woolly hat on, stick the 4 balls in me comfy rucksack bag and go out in the garden and walk round in a circle.
Is that what you're doing, is it? Well, it's a lot more than what I'm doing. I'm going to have to get started now.
Get the old bin liner on, mate, and out with the bowls bag on the back. I tell you what, it takes it out of you. And now we catch up with Cumbria's Stuart Airey.
Hello, Stuart. How are you doing? All right, mate. Great stuff, mate. Thanks for coming on the podcast. Much appreciated. You're welcome. How are you managing through this little tough period? Oh, it's tough, isn't it? I think it's just so strange for everybody, isn't it? Especially people that's involved in sort of activities like bowls and sport like that. It's just alien to us all, having to lock down and find other things to do. Bit of a culture shock to a lot of people, isn't it? I mean, like I say, I've never known anything like it, and certainly it doesn't have to make you have a look at things and think to yourself how much you take for granted at times, isn't it? Absolutely. I think the hardest part for most people is not being able to see their family and friends other than over the phone or FaceTime, things like that. It's tough that way. I'm still working in construction, so we've still got a couple of sites going that they haven't closed, so we've got to continue that way. So I'm actually getting out of the house myself, but my wife and daughter, they're stuck in working from home. Yeah, and I agree with. I mean, that is the sport and activity and the bits and pieces that we do. I think that is the biggest thing that's hitting everybody at the minute is the family side of things. Get back to some sort of normality.
Stewie, I think the divorce rates will go up in the bowling circle. Do you reckon?
I think they could. Yeah, I think they could.
God, I'm not being used to be under the wife's feet, I'll tell you. Do you?
We'll never ever get complained at again for playing 19 times a week, will we?
Gracious.
No, definitely not.
She's looking at the door saying, are you going out yet?
So, right, we've talked about Cumbria a few times, Stuart, so obviously you got a bit of a mention on the last podcast as well, Mr. Mackay.
My hero.
What did you vote him? The biggest ginger hair or something like that, was it?
The Benjamin Button of balls.
He still looks younger than me.
First time I seen you with top quality then, mate.
Been a long old road. I've just been made some notes the other day, and I'm thinking back and all the way back 25, 30 years ago it all started. So it's a long time. My mum got me into bowls. Born in Sunderland. We moved over to Cumbria when I was about 5.
Yeah.
And my dad was mad keen sportsman. When he lived in Sunderland, he used to have a milk round. And I think when Sunderland won the FA Cup in 1973, he painted the milk float red and white stripes. So he was mad keen on Sunderland then, and he was always into sport. My dad moved across to Cumbria 1976, and then he joined Workington. I was just 8 or 9 at the time, and then he took ill in 1983. Actually died of a brain tumour, and that was the year that my mum took me down to the club with my brother. So we joined in 83, the year he died, and that's when it all started. From then on, it was all balls for me. So at that time, Stewie, when you obviously joined Workington, who was sort of there of what we would class as the current crowd at Cumbria at the minute, the lads who have been there for years and had so much success? Was there anybody starting at around about the similar time as yourself? There was a lot, Davey, back in that time. When I started playing under 25, things like that, I was playing with some local lads that work in my brother, Ian Williams, Andrew James. That was our sort of form. We sort of grew together, and we were taught by Dan Laybourne. He's at the chill, know him, the old guard, knew the game inside out. Absolutely proper gentleman, and I have a lot to thank him for, because I sort of learned my trade from him.
And he pushed a lot of the youngsters on and all, didn't he, really, Stuart?
Oh, he did. He was just bald all his life. His father played and things like that. And during that time, he took us under his wing, really. And then, as Davey mentioned, there was a lot of other players in the county, sort of Andrew Baxter, Stephen Fairdish, Paul Barlow, Trev Taylor coming through and things like that. So Cumbria was sort of blessed with a lot of good players during that period. To have that many youngsters come through at that particular time in such a small sort of, Cumbria hasn't got multiple greens all the way throughout the county. So, if you were to look at Cumbria as the greens per space of your county, you wouldn't sort of expect that amount of young lads to come through in that time. And it's funny what you were saying about, how we pushed the younger generation as well. That must have been quite an unusual thing. It certainly would have been in our county, because when I first started, 10-year-olds, there was people saying to me I couldn't even play in the team until I was 14, and that was if I was allowed on the green in some respects. So how did that all sort of come together? How did the lads all seem to congregate at that particular time? Was there a reason for it, or was it just coincidence? I think it's just coincidence, David. A lot of it, Cumbria was always
always family based. It was always the mum and dad played or the grandparents played, and you know, we all sort of, there was a lot of competitions in Cumbria then, under 18s, under 25s, things like that. The county supported youngsters, and when I was sort of late teens, they put you in the middle cup team. That, you know, they're seeing the potential there, and we had, it just seemed to be freakish that throughout the county we had, you know, not just the names that I've named, but there was others. There was 10, 12 youngsters that could have played Middleton Cup level when they were 18, 19. It was just a bit of a freak, really.
So was that Richie? Maybe, you know, I don't want to press the fact I'm a lot younger than you too, but
bit hard,
was that sort of a common thing? It can't have been a common thing throughout the country. That Cumbria must have been sort of a bit of a pioneer from that point of view, with a lot of youngsters into the team, Stu, were they, or am I sort of undermining some other counties across the country? Because it just, for me, seems as if you've always had that young crop of players coming through, even from when I started Cumbria. You know, the under-25s were tremendous, and the county really put a lot of focus on the under-25s, which, like I say, I might be wrong in saying, but just didn't seem to be the same for a lot of other counties.
Yeah, I think the other counties maybe just didn't have as many. When I got called up under 25, 1990, I went down with Graham Byford, Andrew Baxter, and I think Neil Card was in it. So there was 4 of us in the team then. But looking across the county, we could have had so many more, you know what I mean? The crop of youngsters that we had, I think the talent that there was in 5 or 6 players there was pretty good. Then the next batch of players came through maybe 4 or 5 years later. You had the likes of, you know, Trevor, Richard Sampson, Craig Doherty, Gavin Taylor, Ian Gallagher, Richard Chandler. It was just
like a conveyor belt there, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was like waves of players coming through, and again, I'll have missed a few. You know, I could name many more. Whatever team we put out through the period of sort of 90s and things like that, it was just quality. You know, we'll come on to the Denny Cup later on, but that was unbelievable. The teams that we had inside, indoor,
without a doubt. And we've sort of had that conversation how, you know, when we were at Sunderland back then weren't a bad team at all. We had some really great players who, you know, a lot of, but Cumbria generally were always the stumbling block. We would get to the Cumbria situation and never seem to get over that. And it's just been years and years of just seeing absolutely tremendous bowlers come through. And I question whether it has it been the fact of there hasn't been as many bowlers in the county, or has it been that the counties have maybe not sort of pushed the same dynamics as what Cumbria did at that time for the younger players? Because I've always said that younger players crave competition and they want to be doing well, and the ones who particularly aren't, you probably lose them. But I just wonder whether that was something that Cumbria did different to everybody else, which is why you've had so much success over the years.
Nothing much different, David. No, it just seems to be we had that many players available, youngsters, you know, through families, through clubs encouraging youngsters. You know, the under-25 singles tournaments we used to have, it used to be packed. You know, the crowds used to come and watch, and every game you played, it was quality. You know, you didn't just play 2 rounds and get to the final. It was like an all day, five rounds to get to the final of a county under-25.
And every single one of those lads will have been pushing each other all of the time, won't they? Because, you know, that was a big old crop of lads to be trying to get to the top of the tree of. So it can't have done anything less than just push on the talent on a constant basis, because I've got no doubt, like I say, you've mentioned a load of them there, Craig. You would look at those in a field at any time, and that was going to be tough enough. But any new lads, if they wanted to learn the game, weren't going to fail by playing in amongst that group. It's just, like I say, it has been phenomenal. It's been a pleasure to watch, in a lot of respects. For all it's been heartbreaking at times that we could never quite get the better of yous. It's you know, I class Cumbria as my second county. I've got so many good friends up there.
Do you think the influence when you all came together, the likes of John Bell, Ronnie Gass, Tommy Armstrong, David Taylor, all sort of like they nurtured you, and then sort of like later on that they stood back and let you get on with it?
Absolutely, Richie. You know, the young players that I've mentioned, could be 8, 9, 10 of us there. We were really fortunate, because if you look at the Denny Cup, it was all them 8, 9, 10 youngsters.
Yeah.
But we were playing with John Bell, David Taylor, Neil Curry, Ronnie Gatt, Ian Crothers, Ray Graham, Hugh Thompson. You know, they're all international players.
Yeah.
And our Denny Cup was just phenomenal at the time. When I counted up that one Denny Cup side, there was at least 12 either current or past internationals in the side.
Yeah, tremendous.
And we were just lucky to have that crop of players at that time.
Yeah, I mean, you under-25s, double fours, 5 out of 6 years of the 90s.
Again, you know, we were lucky in as much coaches. We had a good crop of players come through together, and then players are still, you know, the likes of Stevie and Paul and myself, Trevor, we're still playing reasonably well now, you know, 35 years on.
Having played against you in the county outdoors, the style of your play was something new. I was looking, I'm going, second man, get amongst it. And is that something that the young'uns sort of like brought on themselves, and the likes of John Bell says, yeah, fair enough, get amongst it. If the head's against you, get amongst it.
You know, it's like when you're younger, you're fearless, aren't you?
Yeah.
And in the indoor and the Denny Cup, we had a lot of Scottish influence.
Right.
Neil Curry and Hugh Thompson, Chuggy, you know, and they just used to attack. You know, if you're in trouble, attack early. Now, I've said Dan Laybourne learned me a lot about balls, but you learn a lot from good players and people that don't learn their own fault, because when you're playing with good players and you don't take it in what they're doing and how they're playing the game, how they're reading the head, that's a lot to do with, for me, players turn into great players by learning off.
That's right.
Great players.
If you kind of feed off it and lift your own game, I've always said if you play with good players, you raise your own game. If you play with an average, no disrespect to anybody, but if you play with a public player, it'll drag you down to their level, and that's not being disrespectful.
I know what you're saying. When you learn from the best, like the John Bell was kind of, you know, skipping indoor and outdoor for England. The likes of them players, you know, Andrew Bax, Stevie and Paul grew up with John Bell, so they kind of learned their trade from him. You can see why, you know, they're good players, but they've turned into great players because of who brought them up.
I think you never stop learning, neither do I. You know, there's many a time I'll still speak to Jimmy Lambert, you know, who's at our club and ex-international, and for me, one of the greatest players to pick a ball up, in my opinion. And it's, you know, the day you think you've learned it all and you don't need any more help is the day your game will probably start to suffer. And there's times I'll walk across to Jimmy and I'll just say, I don't feel like this is particularly right, or, you know, you can tell in your own game that something's not there. And the amount of times Jimmy's just turned around to us and just said, get through it, you know, it's in your head. And he's so right. And it just takes somebody like that just to watch and have a look at.
Yeah, you know, you mentioned Jimmy there. You know, I went through a couple of years when I was struggling. I did a little bit of the yips and my form wasn't great. And I'd give Jimmy a ring. And I think you maybe recall it. I came across to Sunderland to see Jimmy and Gary and yourself just before I played you in a match. I came to see Jimmy, and, you know, not even a same team player as me, but he helped me out. You know what I mean? He just gave me that confidence back. He's the type of player that, you know, you looked up to, and he's the type of player that helped me out at a time when I was struggling a wee bit. So, you know, thank him for that.
Yeah, definitely. He's a top bloke, and like I say, he still comes to. He plays in the leagues with us at South Shields, and there's a few times I've sort of said, I wonder how many of the people who are walking past him in the Bowls Club actually realise what a top player he actually was. Moving on from your early playing days, we've talked about some of the players that you've played with in your local county, but then you moved into the international team, Stewie, and wouldn't be wrong in saying that you've probably played with some of the best players in the world.
Well, again, I was lucky. You know, I got my first cap in, I think it was 92 in Larne, and I actually took a place of a player you'll know well, Cliffy Simpson, played number 2 for Tony. So I went straight in that ring. Tommy Armstrong was at 3. I think Ian Crothers was leading, and, you know, I spent the next 16 years, I think it was 16 seasons, playing 2 for Tony. And, you know, to play with a guy like that, what I learned of him just playing trials and internationals was priceless. Wonderful player, wonderful talent, wonderful man. And he taught me a lot just by me watching what he did on the green, how he skipped, you know, how he played the right shot at the right time. Under pressure, he was unbelievable. And what an experience to play for a guy like him.
I've heard it said before, and you'd be the ideal man to sort of say this, but we all know, you know, if you're part of the international setup, the draw comes out for what the series is going to be, and you see who you're playing against. And I was always told, for all Brian was, you know, he's probably recognised as the greatest in the world ever, Tony was always the one that people didn't want to be drawn against. You know, from what I've heard through unorthodox style and some of the balls that he could play, people just did not want to play against him.
Well, absolutely not. I didn't get play in the same international team as Brian. I think I did 1 year indoor, but outdoor he just retired. You know, different eras. But what Tony told me about Brian, he was just unbelievable. If Tony's saying that about a guy, he means it. So, but yeah, going back to what you said about Tony, yeah, you know, I just loved playing with him and Tommy and whoever was leading. We had a few leads through the years. Tony used to recycle his leads quite often. Believe it or not. It was just a case of different players coming through at different times, and we had 3 or 4 leads during that 16 year, whatever it was.
I think I had me first England trial in '91, and it was actually Tony Alcock was skipping against us. Tommy Armstrong was 3, Cliffy Simpson was 2, and a lad called Richard Hart was leading in, and I took him to the cleaners, and the poor lad lost his place. So I apologise.
I'm not surprised he lost his place if you took him to the cleaners.
Left-handed and all.
He probably never played county again.
Fair
point.
Only joking, mate. Only joking.
Whoever we played internationally, they didn't want Tony. That was for sure.
No, I must admit, in that trial, he's very, he's very abrupt with the lead. Maybe he's very focused. Is he, Tony?
Tony's he doesn't, he's a winner. An absolute winner. And again, the difference between good players and great players is will to win.
Yeah.
Ability is one thing. The full package is he was a winner.
Yeah.
And he, even if he wasn't playing, he'd cheer for his teammates. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He would be England through and through. And I've always remembered that. And when I step on the green, I don't, whatever I'm playing in, I want to win. Is bred into you.
Yeah.
Nowadays, I think some lads go on and sometimes they're not playing in a game that they believe is an important game, and you just see them messing about. Now, you never used to get that in our day. You just used to go on and try and win whatever you played.
Yeah, you're right, mate.
I did. I really enjoyed listening to watching Tony on the Bulls England YouTube channel. Their first podcast that they did with him, and I think it was there that he talked about how 2 or 3 of his players had turned around and said it's the first time they've ever had an absolute bollocking for being 14 up in a game or something, because I think he was that competitive and wanted to make sure that players were that sharp all of the time that he took his players into the middle of the green when they were 14 up and give them an absolute 1,000 because they played a bad end, and he turned around and says, if this continues, potential to lose the game, and give them a bollocking for having that bad end, and that's probably just shows the calibre of the man, and I think you've just hit the nail on the head where you've turned around and said that he's England through and through. I've seen him at British Isles Championships and other championships where there is just not another team there. It doesn't matter how you're playing as an England player, he doesn't care. He will back you and he'll support you throughout.
Absolutely. He's been a great ambassador, a great player, and the will to win was unbelievable. So, I enjoyed every minute of playing international balls with him.
So you must have been proud when you were handed the captain's armband, mate.
Well, when Tony retired from international, they must have thought, well, better, he's been number 2 for 16 years, better give him a chance up at the back end. So
you have writer's cramp.
I was kind of ready for it. I was 16 years playing too.
Was there sorry to jump in there, Stewie, but was there a frustration there for any amount of years that you were continually playing 2? Why am I not getting moved up back end? Or was it a case of I am more than happy sitting in a 2 playing for who I'm playing 2 for?
I think me and Tony got on really well on the green and off the green, and I think he was happy me playing with him too. So for me that was fine. And maybe the latter years, the last 2 or 3 years, I'm thinking, maybe deserve a move, maybe up to 3 or something like that. But Tommy retired or finished playing after about, I don't know what it was, 9 or 10 of them years, and we had Bolty came in, played 3. Now Bolty, another brilliant player, great lad. Bolty played 3 hours for that period up till Tony retired. So I was quite happy playing away too. When you've got players like Bolty and Tony playing behind you, you know what I mean? It's happy days.
Without a doubt.
When I did get the move, and then they wanted me to be captain, it was a proud day. I couldn't believe it really, and the team that we had then, I loved it. The lads always together, always backing each other. I had 3 or 4 years at that, and thankful for the opportunity.
There'll be more from Stuart later in the show. Welcome to Richie's Roundup. Cue the music. What a year of sport 2021 will be. The European Football Championships, the Olympic Games in Japan, well now you can add the World Bowls Championships, as a new date has been confirmed for the event due to take place on the Gold Coast, Queensland, Australia, now scheduled for May the 25th to June the 6th, 2021. Bulls England have been working alongside the Institute of Groundsmanship to produce a guide for clubs regarding ongoing maintenance and what work needs to be done during this crisis. It might well be worth clubs passing it on to the local council. Hint, hint. News from the AIBA. Their planned annual general meeting on May the 16th, as expected, was cancelled. The
closing date for the AIBA National Championship entries has been extended to June the 7th. And fingers crossed, if we can get back to business later this year, the AIBA have provisionally made the period Monday the 14th of September to Monday the 12th of October to complete the cancelled National Championships. And news from the Short Mat Players Tour. It's time to vote for the Players Player of the Season. There are 7 nominations. There's 1 Belgian, 1 Englishman, 2 Swedes and 3 from Ireland. The nominees are Ireland's Mark Beattie, Sweden's Benny Sjorgin, England's Alec Cayley, Ireland's Gary McNabb, Belgium, yes that's Belgium, Jonathan Payne, Ireland Nathan Hare, Sweden Jonas Hagar. All votes must be received by the SMPT before 8 p.m. on Tuesday the 26th of May, with the winner announced on the website on Sunday the 31st of May. And that's all from me. Do I still get paid for that short report, mate? And now we return to Stuart Airey.
You've had some amazing experiences, no doubt a lot of highs and some lows in your career as well, Stu, and you've travelled the world. Any of your experiences stick out more than others?
I think in the early days, after 2 or 3 years of playing international, out of the blue, the England select asked me and Andy Wills to go to Hong Kong. Now back then, it was always sort of established players that were getting the trips everywhere. We were kind of shocked to get an invite over to the Hong Kong Classic. Back then, no disrespect to the tournament now, but all the top players used to go there. Used to get Tatty was always there, Goulet and Greenslade, Tony and Johnny used to go, and it was a top quality tournament. And I think it was 1996 was our first year, and we did all right. We ended up going 4 years on the trot. We won it twice, and wonderful experience. Just to gain that experience of overseas play against top quality opposition. That was one of the things that England pushed on from there. That they wanted the sort of fringe players of getting into these squads to get some experience overseas. Yeah. And for me, going over there, and that was a great challenge for us, and that's the sort of tournaments I loved. I just loved challenging myself against them sort of players on different greens and different heat, and it was just a wonderful experience.
That must have put you in great stead for what was to happen in the future as well. Obviously, Commonwealth Games that you've been to, playing against the best can only put you in a better frame of mind and better shape for being able to compete for medals when you're going across those major championships.
Absolutely. I was selected for World Bowls Johannesburg 2000, I think that was. The team was Ottaway, Andy Thompson, Tony, Davey Holt. So that was the 5 of us. I couldn't believe my luck. I was playing pretty good at the time. We went to Joburg. It wasn't a brilliant experience, to be honest. The security factor over there, there was a couple of instances where we were a bit scared where we were, staying in a hotel, went out to practice one night, come back on the team bus, and it was surrounded by police. It was locked down. The restaurant was held up by armed robbers that night. It was a bit of a scary situation to be in. I was just kind of young at that time, and the playing wise, Joburg there was 4 greens together, but I think they just laid 2 of them. They didn't have 4 together, so 2 of the greens were pretty average, to be honest. If you can imagine, Silks was on a good day.
Hey! Let's that.
Get in, Stu. I'll not cut that one out, Stewie.
Thanks for being on the show, Stu. We'll catch you down.
It was a bit of a challenge, I tell you. So it was 2 of the greens were pretty good, 2 of them were pretty awful. So I enjoyed the experience, but I didn't enjoy playing on them. Moving on, and John Bell put a elite squad together for Delhi, and he managed to get. We got a fair bit of backing by the lottery, so they got a bit of funding for Delhi. The program that they put together for Delhi was fantastic. We had an elite squad for 18 months, and we went all over the place playing in top quality matches against top quality opposition. And I think Johnny took us to the Aussie Open the year before Delhi, and that was as a squad. So I was paired up with Merv at that time. Delhi was only 3 events, and you're only allowed to play in 1. So the squad was kind of picked on all the things leading up to Delhi, and me and Merv were put together, and it was just a sort of match made in heaven, really. Merv, what a great guy, on and off the green. You couldn't find somebody better to play with in my eyes. We had some great time. We won the Aussie Open pairs. before we went to Delhi. Played out in Spain. We played at the Wanderers in South Africa, Joburg, the Atlantics and things like that. It was just a great programme, and Johnny Bell and his management team, he had Gail and Tommy Armstrong and Pip, great managers that really looked after us all. And by the time we got to Delhi, we were just in tip-top form, played that many games, and he just drilled in this winning mentality into everybody. So, for me, when we got to Delhi, we were just in great shape. Something I've never been involved in before, a programme like that, and I don't think England has since had a programme like that.
It's probably showed with results as well. You had a fantastic Delhi, didn't you? It proved that preparation obviously reaped the benefits. Listening to you there, it sort of relates, or it seems to relate very much to the way Scotland go about things at the moment. They put a lot into their elite teams, and it's no surprise that they're continually knocking gold, silvers and bronze at the Commonwealth Games as well.
Yeah, Scotland's squad they've had for the last 10, 15 years, it's there to be seen. The medals they've won is unbelievable. Going back to Delhi, I think because we were only allowed to play in one event, we medalled in 5 out of 6 events. Sami was the only one to miss out in the singles, and he was really unlucky. He lost his game against, I think it was Robert Wheel for the medal game, and then ended up losing his bronze match to, I believe it was Gary Kelly, if I remember rightly. And Sami just missed out, but you're saying about ups and downs. Delhi was, for me, a brilliant experience, brilliant programme, and we ended up losing the gold, like I think everybody will know about. We ended up 6 up the last and lost the 6. It was a weird one because Delhi was a high point in my career and the build up to it, but the low point for losing a gold medal was hard for a few years. It stuck with me, but now I'm fine with it. I actually, believe it or not, I got a call off one of my best friends, Graham Bypond. He comes and watches me everywhere, and travel together. He actually came out to Hong Kong twice to watch, been out to Australia and things like that. Great supporter, great friend of mine. He phoned me yesterday to say that Delhi's been uploaded onto the YouTube, the final, and I watched yesterday for the first time, and unbelievable really. When I watched that game, I've never seen it before. I remember it so well playing in it, but I actually watched it yesterday, so it was a bit of a weird one.
I managed to see the last end, Stuart. It just looked like one of them ends that you sort of you're 6 up and you say, well, I'm not going to drop a 6 here, and it just seems as if it just built up and built up and built up, and you start saying, well, I'll get in with me first, I'll get in with me second, and then you were sort of walking down with the last one. Oh,
I know. It came out of nothing really, but actually the end that lost us, it was probably the 2 ends before that, because we lost we were actually 9 up to 2 to play, we lost to 3,
right,
which let them play the last end. Now it wasn't a bad end we played, we just ended up losing a 3, and then the end before that I had a chance to draw another to go 14-4 instead of 13-4,
right,
and I just hung wide. The carpet was very, very tricky. It was playable. That's the sort of thing that I liked myself, because it was tricky and you could work rinks out. Playing on sort of carpet outdoor, it was a bit of a strange one.
Yeah. Well, even when the lad had the last ball, I'm looking at it, I'm going to myself, well, he'll do well to get down to that with the right weight to lift it out, because I think there was a ball about 6 inches in front of it. And
I think the only way you could get he was a left-hander, Jerry Baker, great friend of mine again, great player, left-hander, he got a bit of a bend on the wide line. Now everybody else played the wide line, they never got back.
No.
But he just seemed to get a turn from nowhere.
Even a little feather on that short ball, he wouldn't have gotten a hold of your ball to lift it out enough, would he?
Listen, mate, I've played a long time, and ups and downs, you just got to accept it and move on. I know it's a massive game, gold medal and all that, but at the end of the day, you win some, you lose some, and you move on. So I accept it.
Well, didn't go and sit in the corner after we've dug it up, because Bolty likes to dig things up,
Well, I haven't watched it for a while, so I might have a watch of it later on. But no, to be honest with you, I'm sure I remember watching it at the time, and a lot of people have been there, and if not all of us, and it's hindsight's a wonderful thing, isn't it? You probably look at it and you could look at it another 10 times and think, what could I have done differently? But that's what this sport is all about. And the unfortunate thing about this sport is sometimes you just haven't got control over your destiny.
You just got to accept it, don't you? Move on.
You have. You have. It's the equivalent of a goalkeeper letting the ball through his legs, or a striker missing a goal from a yard out and putting it over the top of the bar that we've seen in the past. It's when you could continue to look at it and get yourself more and more frustrated, more down about it, but there's absolutely nothing you can do about it, so you've just got to move on.
Yeah, absolutely. Going back to that squad at Delhi, the team, I think it was Sammy, Mark Bantock, Shadders and Rob. So that was the men's. It was Sean, Ellen, Jamie Lee, Sandy and Amy. You know, it was the squad environment we had. We were staying in the same sort of building, the same apartment, and the management team always had us together. You know, Johnny used to organise sort of quizzes and things like that at night, so we're always together. We're always enjoying each other's company. And I remember a funny story. I remember one night Tommy, Pip, Gale and Johnny with the management team, he organised this quiz and split us up into fours. And I remember, you know, Mark Bantock is a good lad, funny lad, and Johnny was asking these questions, and I think I was in a team with Mark, Jamie Lee and Tommy, and the question was, how many funnels did the Titanic have? And Mark, quick as a tack, he says, come on Tommy, you're bound to know that. Tommy turned and, you know, give him one of his glares. and how do you make that out, Mark? And he said, well, you were on it. Everybody was in stitches about Tommy being on this Titanic, and Tommy's face was a picture. It's just, you know, the togetherness we all had. It was just great atmosphere between us all.
There'll be more from Stuart later in the show. There now follows a partly political broadcast on behalf of lawn bowls.
Something new, something old, and this famous statue of Drake at Plymouth Hoe symbolises not only our great seafaring tradition, but also a game he made famous, bowls. Few people hadn't heard the story of the game he refused to interrupt as the Spanish Armada approached. Today, with the introduction to this country of the American 10-pin bowling, our own traditional game is enjoying a revival in popularity. One that is being fostered by an indoor bowling green at a Bognor holiday camp. With this apparently simple but nevertheless revolutionary innovation, the game can now be played all the year round, and while the experts might be conscious of the playing qualities of matting as opposed to grass, it does still provide an excellent opportunity for people who would not otherwise have the chance to try their hand at the game. The rules are, of course, too complex to explain in the limited time we have, but the main object is to place the bowls, or woods as they're called, as near to the white ball, or jack, as possible. Each of the woods has a bias so that it can curve round a group of others to get at the jack. Bowling is generally considered to be second only to archery as the oldest of English sports, but there's certainly nothing antiquated about this very skilled game. In fact, it's something in which one has to participate to appreciate. Try it and see.
And now it's time for a little history lesson. Did you know in 1511 that well-known bowler King Henry VIII declared it illegal for commoners to play the game? Anyone caught breaking the law was fined the princely sum of 6 shillings and 8pence. However, it may not be common knowledge that his second wife, Anne Boleyn, also played, and that a heavy loss in the national mixed pairs for the husband and wife partnership hastened her demise. That's a useless fact brought to you by a fella who cannot pronounce Welsh names. I thank you. And now we return to Stuart Airey.
Been a hard time as well, mate, I've no doubt, and possibly I think that's part of the reason why you decided to retire from the international setup, because you'd had a lot of time that you'd put into bowls and sacrificed a lot of family time as well.
Yeah, I know. Looking back, when you're playing sport at a level, you've got to be you are selfish. You know, I have been away a lot in my early days, and you know, I must thank my wife and, you know, my daughter is now nearly 20. So, you know, when I was a teenager, you took for granted that your mum and, you know, my stepfather used to take me around the county, around the country playing bowls. And I think when he got to Glasgow, the next Commonwealth was involved in 2014, I just felt that I think I need to just give a little, and I think it's time for somebody else to take the captaincy role over. And
not having me 3 years, neither wonder you retired. You must have thought things is not getting any better here.
I enjoyed it when you were playing too, Davey. It was good crack. You know, I just don't think the team was getting sort of settled every year for me. It was all a bit moving players around, and you never used to get that in the old days, you know. When the likes of you had skips like John Bell and Tony and Davey Ward, Andy Thompson, absolute top quality skips, and they were just skipping year in, year out. I think nowadays, albeit you've got a bit more settled team now, they just sort of chop and change a bit more.
Probably agree with you there, Stu. At that time, did appear to be very choppy and changey, which I just don't think benefits anybody in the long run.
No, if you can get a settled side, you're laughing, really.
You are listening to the Wrong Bias podcast.
And the game of bowls in general, what's your overall opinion, the way the game is at the minute, mate?
I was lucky. I was brought up in I thought a good time, you know, through 90s and then 2000s.
Yeah.
The game of bowls, for me, it's got to a stage where I think there's too much to play in. People, now I don't know whose fault that is. They're not as, I don't think they're as competitive as they used to be. I'm talking maybe nationals and, just from experience, our indoor at the moment, we don't have 3 or 4 entries in the fours. No.
It has fell away, hasn't it?
10, 15 years ago, you used to play and it was 20, 30 entries in the fours.
Yeah.
I don't know what's happened there really, but the game of balls at the moment for me, I just play at the moment whatever I want to play in, and I don't play in anything I don't want to play in, if that makes sense. I know players still enter 4, 5, 6, 7 tournaments, and that's up to them. It's, I was like that when I was in my 20s. I used to play in everything.
Yeah.
But I think players just need to pick and choose a bit more, because you often hear players saying to themselves, saying to their mates, I'm not playing again next week, I'm playing again tomorrow night. I said, well, you've entered all these competitions.
Yeah, it starts to feel like a 9-to-5 job, doesn't it? Yeah,
the talent's still there in the elite squads. I think, the squads that have been picked these last few times, it's amazing teams, that the likes of, the girls like Sian and Ellen and Natalie,
yeah.
And so a lot of time for them, and great players, great girls. And I think there's a lot of potential still in England, especially with the squads that we're picking. For me, I have my own opinions of how they're managed, but we've got a new elite management team now, and I wish them all the best. With John McGuinness taking over that with Kirk and the other management team. I wish them all the luck in the world, all the medals they can win. Good luck to them, and they've got great squads, great people. So, but the game of balls itself, I don't know, Richard. You can ask different people and you get different answers. I think I've seen the best of it, but that's just my opinion because I've played through that period.
I think you're right, mate. I think they made a picture of the class of '92 for the football for the Man United. Well, I think if ever they'd done a balls one, mate, they'd make one of Cumbria the class of the 90s, because you set the bar for me.
The outdoor game has suffered because of the balls that are being used now. I mean, we talked. Was it Vitalites or Tyrolites you used to play with, Stuart?
Tyrolites, grandfathers.
No, I've always had this argument. People keep twisting and moaning about the state of greens and how the greens didn't play the way they used to and all this, but people forget that we used to play with lignoids and tyrolites and bigger swinging balls outdoors, so you were using more greens on the outdoor surfaces. And you look at the majority of your greens now and you'd be lucky if you're using 3 foot across the middle, because you're just playing 2 or 3 balls up one side and 4 or 5 balls up the other, and everything's just funneled down the centre of the rinks. Whereas back in the days, you used to hear people turn around, even when I'm going back now to 88, when I started, people used to turn around and say, you can get all the way out to the strings, because they used to string the greens, and you can get all the way out there and it'll swing all the way back. You'd be lucky if you find 5 greens in the UK now that can do that. The balls just do not sort of assist with how the greens should be playing. Do you agree?
I do. Obviously they've got tighter and tighter as the years gone on. Trevor is our indoor manager, and got some old Henselites that they used to play with outdoor and tried them indoor, and they're huge. Yeah. They're going into 2 foot, 3 foot into the next ring on the indoor, and we used to play with them all the time indoor. I used to play with my Tyrolites indoor in the early 90s. Andrew Baxter had the old Henselite classics, and it used to be going into the middle of the next ring, but that's what we used to play with, that's what we used to. But you're banging your head against the wall, because balls manufacturers these days, they're never going to change. It's all about selling coloured balls, and they're generally tighter than what they used to be.
We'll start a campaign up, Stewie. Everybody to play with Tyrolite.
I've still got them.
Have you still got them, mate? Tremendous.
Great competition idea of mine for outdoors is to arrange a competition where everybody plays with lignoids. Then you'd find out who the better players were in the competition. Just quickly getting away from the balls, Stewie, there's a couple of things. Well, I knew of one, but a couple of interesting facts from your family.
When I was born in Sunderland, we actually lived next door to, it was my grandfather's brother, so our cousins were next door and grew up as musicians. And one of them, I think he started off with Rainbow and Ozzy Osbourne. He's now still touring with Deep Purple, Don Airey. He's still got a house in Seaham, actually, but he lives down in Cambridge. So he's a very successful keyboard player, playing with Deep Purple at the moment. He comes up to Seaham when Sunderland are playing at home. Not sure why he wants to go and watch them now, but
easy, Tiger.
Easy.
Move along. You have got Mac and blood in you,
And they're playing Benny Moore now, and Gateshead, is it?
Hey, there's nothing wrong with playing Fleetwood.
So his brother was lead guitarist for or Nick Kershaw, Tom Jones, now playing in the shows in London. Very successful. Cousins, Don's my godfather, so he sends me all kinds of things, and I've been to see him a few times playing with Deep Purple, so it's been good.
Fantastic, mate. And obviously just part of a extremely talented family. Right, what we will do is we'll quickly move on to my 7-up questions, if that's all right. Just 7 questions off the cuff, mate. So, what's the favourite green you've ever played on, Stu?
I used to love playing at Stanley in the day. Was it when they got the new carpet and it was flyer?
Pre-blue carpet, we call it.
Outdoor, it's got to be the Gold Coast, Broadbeach. I love playing on greens like that. Anything that's got a bit of pace in it, Davey, really.
Great stuff. Favourite balls you ever used?
I think I've got to say Eternal Light back in the day.
Ronaldo or Messi?
Ronaldo every day.
Best match you've ever played in?
95. I won the pairs indoor with David Taylor, which qualified us for the World Pairs at Preston Guildhall. We were drawn against Alcock and Bright in the first round. Horrible draw for us. We managed to, I don't know how, but we beat them in the first round. They were on for about 5-time World Pairs champions on the trot. Got to be my greatest game I've been involved in.
Toughest opponent, either team or individual?
Gordon Bennett.
Go on to say I've never played against Gordon Bennett.
He's a good player. I don't think he's a baller, but I don't want to play him. Locally, I always have battles with Stevie Farish. What a competitor. Play against Belly a lot. What a competitor he was in his day. He was just so tough to beat.
Great stuff, mate. Knowing your love for the yellow fruit, would you either have a banana or a Cumbrian sausage?
I don't eat sausage. When I was 5 in Sunderland, my mum fed me on some sausage and had chokes, and I've never eaten sausage since. True story.
We certainly know you like your bananas, because I've seen monkeys eat less bananas than you do.
When I was playing internationally and that, I always ate bananas, and I never eat them now. I always used to eat two bananas before a game, something like that.
I know you're not playing as much now, mate, and obviously you've retired from the international scene, but have you got any future ambitions in the sport?
Just to keep enjoying it daily. I think the day I don't enjoy it is the day I'll stop playing. I've got great friends, Trevor and Graham, 2 brilliant friends of mine. I play quite a lot with them. I keep an eye on the international scene. I like to see England doing well. There's a lot of outdoor clubs, especially dwindling away, members that have fallen away. I just hope the game gets new lease of life somehow. I don't know how we're going to do that. Somebody needs to take it by the scruff of the neck, in my opinion. But the foundations are there. Tony's set up foundation. Now he's stepped down. I think we need somebody to take it to that next level.
Great stuff. That's your 7-up questions, mate. Thank you very much, Stu. Anything else you want to add, Rich?
I've known him for many years, mate. Absolute star and a real credit to the sport.
Oh, thanks for that, boys. It's been great. Just looking back, really, and I haven't got long enough, and people don't want to listen to me, Robert, none anyway. So thanks very much for that.
I'm sure you'd be wrong, mate. You've got a lot of friends throughout the country, throughout the world. You've made some great friends in the sport, and I'm sure there'll be a lot of people who will enjoy listening as well. But thanks for coming on, mate. It's been an absolute pleasure. One of my, like I said it last week, one of my great friends in the game. So it's been nice to sort of reminisce a little bit with you, mate, and listen to your career. So thanks very much for coming on.
You're welcome. Thanks very much.
And the competition for this week, sponsored by Alex Marshall Sports. Question is going to be, we heard Stuart talking about his career, but we're going to go right back to the start. And he mentioned his dad. And what we want to know is, what was his dad's occupation? As soon as you get the answer, drop us it either on the Facebook page, email wrong.bias@hotmail.com, or drop us a comment on Twitter. All competition entries will go into a pot, and as usual, there will be a draw on our little wheel of steel for the prize. Just want to drop in, anybody who has won prizes previously, please don't think we've forgotten about you. Due to the current circumstances, limited stuff that can be sent through Royal Mail at the moment. So if you haven't had your merchandise from Wrong Bias, then please don't worry about it. We will make sure you get it to you. We have got the information, and at first opportunity we will send it.
And here's a little bonus. To show how professional we are, I never dial the wrong number. Do I, mate?
Hello.
Can you hear him, Davey?
Hello?
Have you caught each other?
Who's that?
Can you hear each other?
Yeah.
Davey, can you hear George?
Is that George on the phone there?
Yeah.
It's Stuart. That's George.
Oh, it's Stuart. Oh, Stuart. Get yourself back to bed, son.
He's rang the wrong person. He's flipping useless, he is.
Get yourself back to bed, son. Get yourself back to bed.
Half an hour.
Ta-ra. Bye. Oh.
And we know who wears the trousers, Mr. Bolt, in your household.
Would there be any problem if it means you having to set up again? We can just continue to do it now. I'm on turkey duties, and that's gone on a little bit longer than what I thought. So I just need to get the turkey prepped and get the turkey in. Is there any chance?
No, you're all right. I'll take about 10 minutes.
And in the words of the Irish comedian Jimmy Cricket, and there's more.
Give us about 20 minutes because I've got to stuff it with butter and all of that malarkey. So
you do realise it can go on bloopers this as well.
Aye, stuff it at turkey.
Well, mate, before we finish, the emails keep coming through, and the reason why we decided to do the podcast, you've probably been hit on the head by 2 or 3 emails that we've had recently. We had one from a young lad who used to play balls, and he came across the podcast by mistake, I think. He listened to it, enjoyed it happily, and he's going to start playing the game again. And we had another one, which I actually loved, where he said it's just like you're chatting to pals over a few pints. Really hit the idea on the head, mate, really.
Definitely, yeah. That's all we set out to do. It wasn't going to be anything too heavy, was it? We didn't want it to be facts, and same sort of up to date information. We wanted to have a chat to a wide range of people and friends, and just hopefully it does come across that we do have a laugh, don't we?
Two lads kicking the can down the street.
Well, I mean, like I say, Christmas time is going to be the amount of bloopers that's going to be on this Christmas time. Just before we recorded this little bit, I made about 17 errors. My head was in bits.
And I didn't ring the wrong number.
Yeah. 2 guests on today, and we went to ring one guest, and we got the other one. We've had a good morning this morning. The coronavirus is definitely having an effect. But no, like I said, it's a really good laugh, and if it is inspiring people to get back out on the green, or it is just giving people a bit of time to kill and enjoy listening to what we do, then that's all we're bothered about.
We had another one from a local lad who, I mean, you've said it probably on 3 or 4 podcasts about the balls bug. Well, the balls bug bit him. He got invited to go and play, and he's loved it after going through a bit of a rough time. So
that's, I mean, if we can inspire, even if it's over the time, if we can inspire one every show, then fantastic. It's that's what it's all about.
Yeah. I mean, that was the whole idea of the venture, wasn't it, mate? It was sit down, have a bit crack on, and if people enjoyed it, and what have you. We also had a one from Nigel Williams, and he is connected with the annual England and Scotland game, which Gary Hood used to look after many, many, many years ago. And they are trying to raise of £6,000 for Ambitious About Autism. Now, we did put a link on the Facebook page for any donations, because they've set up a justgiving.com fundraising page, and what they're asking you to do is to raise a drink and say cheese to balls and donate possibly £3 or more if you wish. He reckons it would take 2,000 of us in 3 days to hit the target, and I just thought it was a worthy cause for us to advertise verbally on the podcast, mate.
Without a doubt, yeah, Nigel's a great lad, and a great cause, and like you say, because of the circumstances, the money won't have been able to be raised because the game hasn't been able to take place. So if we can do what we can to help, then all the better, and it still means that the funds are going to a great cause, and they're not missing out.
Yeah, I think they've raised just under 3,000 at the minute, so if we'll put another link on the podcast page so people can actually go on and donate if they wish, but
fantastic.
Anything would help. And before we go, mate, we passed a milestone actually just shortly after we did show number 12, where we got the email saying that we passed 5,000 listens.
We did, and up to 6,008, I think, when I last looked this morning. We're not going to be we're smashing Hollywood in any time in the near future, but for us, it's just fantastic that we've had 6,008 people who have wanted to tune in and wanted to listen to what we do, and I'm sure you feel the same. I take so much from it.
Yeah.
If we can continue to do that and average, I think we're averaging about 400 to 500 a show. Listeners, continue to do that for as long as it takes, and I'd be a very happy person. I think it's a great thing for us, and I love it. It gives us a buzz every time I have a look and see that people's actually taking the time to tune in and have a listen.
Yeah, I think it's probably gone better than we possibly envisaged, mate, at the start. We knew there was a market, but the way people have responded, it's been tremendous, mate. The way it's been taken in the spirit that it's meant to be.
It might be 6,000 people downloading just to try and work out what we're saying, like.
Well, it could. I actually think they're downloading Leonelli, mate. I think that's. And the number of people that have asked for me to do the Welsh League results when we get back.
I've got no idea why.
I don't know. I think there's a campaign going out or somewhere. Yeah, mate. But anyway, mate, that's a number 13 over with. It's been good. I've enjoyed the chat with Stuart. He really is a nice lad.
He's a top bloke, and it's been nice to just chat about some of the things that I've known Stuart for years, but a couple of things he's talked about this morning I knew nothing about. So it's great to hear. And again, we've been able to provide something which is going to be essential for clubs as well. Having George on the show, giving some fantastic information about where clubs can go to for help. And what they can focus on before we get back out in the greens.
Yeah, even opening up old wounds about that Commonwealth Games drop to 6. I'm sure we put something on the Facebook the other week about we'll never get a 6 out of that. And then for Graham, his mate, to tell him that it's been uploaded onto YouTube, the full game.
It's not like Graham neither, because Graham's really usually quite reserved and doesn't really usually say much. But
I've heard on the grapevine that he's actually going to invite Stewie around for a 55-inch TV viewing of it.
I'm sure he'll enjoy that.
Yeah, anyway.
10 pints, but he'll look, yeah?
I don't care, mate. A couple of beers, that'll do him. But anyway, it's been a good one, mate. Watch what you're doing.
You too.
Everybody watch what you're doing, and we'll see you soon.
Fantastic. Take care, everybody.
Thank you for listening and hope you've enjoyed the show.
This has been a Dodgy production.